Hey guys, and welcome back to a brand new video on my channel. And as the Formula 1 season has ended, I'm not gonna react, but I'm gonna go through my predictions from the start of the year and compare them to what actually happened in the season, and we'll get to see how well I did predict the season. And also I'm gonna give out some awards at the end of the video as well. But let's get right into my predictions. And my first prediction was that Mercedes would win the Constructors' Championship, and indeed I was right. Not the most difficult prediction to make, but at some points during the season it did look like Ferrari was actually going to win it, but in the end Mercedes endured and won it. So that's one prediction for me that I got right. And my next prediction was that Hamilton would be world champion, and indeed he was. I don't think I expected it to be quite as easy as it turned out to be, but I'll get into why it turned out too easy down the list. But again, that's 2 for 2 so far. And then I predicted that Bottas wouldn't be able to challenge Hamilton throughout the season, and indeed I was right. He started out okay, or I think maybe Hamilton started out badly, but as we saw last season, Bottas just fell away during the season and couldn't really challenge him. So again, that was right. And then where I predicted that Red Bull would be close with Mercedes and probably be ahead sometimes, and that turned out not quite to be true. Red Bull were actually the third best team, and I predicted them to be sort of on par with Mercedes, and they ended up being the third best team. But they did win a few times indeed, so they weren't quite as bad as you could have feared, but not quite as close as I predicted. So that's the first wrong prediction from me. And then I predicted that Verstappen would beat Ricciardo, and in the end that turned out to be true as well. Actually, it ended up being quite convincingly, especially in quali, where he was a lot better, and there was that streak of like what was maybe the Azerbaijan Grand Prix till like Mexico, where Verstappen had beat Ricciardo in every single qualifying session. But obviously Ricciardo was very, very unlucky with his retirements, and hopefully he'll do better at Renault next year. And then I predicted that Raikkonen would be very slow, and again I know it's super easy to predict because of course he's gonna be, but this I don't really know if that's true or false, because he did actually get the win that he's been chasing for so long, and he was better than I expected him to be, but then again he was slow and sort of second fiddle to Vettel, so I don't really know where to put this. I'll put this as indecisive. And then again I predicted that Vettel would battle with Hamilton, but in the end he and Ferrari would bottle it, and that is pretty fucking spot on. And they pulled it off again, just like they did last year. Ferrari was better than I thought they would be. I actually thought they'd be the third best team, but they ended up being the second best team, maybe the best throughout the season. But obviously that just means that the bottle was even bigger than last year. So again, I got that right. And then I predicted that McLaren would be best of the rest. Well, but that means even clever people like myself, I'm just joking, can be wrong, because obviously they were as far from best of the rest as you probably can get. It's not been the worst year so far of the McLaren. Well, it's not the McLaren Honda era anymore, but you know what I mean, since the hybrid era. But it's been pretty bad so far, and now obviously it's over for Alonso, and hopefully with Sainz and Norris next year it can only get better. So I was as far from the truth as it could be on that prediction. And then I said that Sainz would beat Hülkenberg, and that did not end up being the case. And Sainz has actually been quite disappointing throughout the season. Obviously you don't notice them a lot, but Hülkenberg has just been consistent, and Sainz hasn't really been able to get it together. So again, another wrong prediction there. And then I predicted that Haas would be towards the back, like somewhere like P14, P16, and they are sort of have been around that a few races towards the end of the season here and in the autumn, but at the start of the season they were very good. So I don't again really know where to put this, but I'd say they've probably been the best of the rest at some point, so I can't really say if they've been towards the back, so that's another wrong prediction. And then probably the easiest prediction so far, Williams would be the worst team, and of course they were. and I think it's probably the worst season I've ever seen. I've been watching Formula One for like 7-8 years now, and I probably haven't seen someone as bad since it was like back with HRT and that kind of stuff. It has been such a bad season for them. And then I predicted that Sauber would be second to last, and Leclerc would probably grab 1 point throughout the season. And that turned out to be quite false as well. Sauber ended up being great, and sometimes they were the best of the rest, and Leclerc really performed a lot better than I hoped for, and Sauber as well. And it's been a really, really good year for them. And I really look forward to seeing what Leclerc can do next year and everything. So I was definitely wrong on that one. So that was actually my sort of predictions from the start of the season to now, and I got a few of them right and a few of them wrong as it is. But I think I got the most important ones right, was obviously with the drivers, who's going to be the world champion and who's been the constructors and all that. But now I'm gonna, award some. I'm gonna award some awards to some of the drivers, and the first award obviously is Driver of the Year, and I was, sort of thinking of giving it to Charles Leclerc, but in the end I gave it to Lewis Hamilton, simply because he has had probably, I don't know if it's been his best season of his career so far, but maybe, he started off a bit slow, but he's just managed, along with Mercedes, to come back, beat Ferrari, even though they weren't the best, winning at Hockenheim, that qualifying in the red, in rain in Hungary, where I was actually there to watch live, so that was amazing, and just generally pulling out the results when he needed to, and beating Vettel and Ferrari. So I think he has had the best year of his career probably, so he deserves the Driver of the Year. And then flipping that scale, the worst Driver of the Year, I have to award that to Grosjean. And obviously you're thinking, Grosjean, he's done okay. Yeah, but you sort of forget the first half of the season for Grosjean was probably the worst I've ever seen from a driver. Like, he didn't score points for so long, crashing behind the safety car, blaming everyone. It was tragic to see. And I think there were even rumors of him being replaced mid-season because he was so bad. But then obviously he came back better after summer break, I think, and has been actually better than Magnussen. But I have to give worst of the year to Grosjean. And then best race of the season. There were quite a few good races, like I enjoyed Mexico, I enjoyed China and Monza as well, but I think there's only really one race it could be, and that's Baku. Just like it was last season, it had everything. You have like the crazy first lap with Raikkonen and Ocon crashing and all that, the punctures and debris. Red Bulls just battling left, right and center, and ending with that massive crash down into turn 1, causing the safety car to come out, and then, as I mentioned before, Grosjean crashing under the safety car and blaming Ericsson. Probably the worst thing I've ever seen from a Formula 1 driver. And then after the safety car restart, Vettel, bottling it into turn 1, giving Bottas the lead, and then Bottas punctured from the lead, and then Hamilton inherited the win, and Perez ended up getting on the podium. It was just such a crazy race. So for me, that was definitely the best of the season. And then, the award for Surprise of the Year, I don't know what to call it, but I have to give that to Sauber and Leclerc. As I touched on before, I expected Sauber to be towards the back and Leclerc maybe gain like 1 point or something like that, but they turned out to be super great. Sauber really punching above their weight, and I really look forward to seeing what they can do next year. Even if maybe they can take a step up, and they've got Kimi Räikkönen, and Giovinazzi, and hopefully they can get some good points. And we all know Leclerc, he performed so well throughout the season, and has probably been one of the standout drivers, beside Hamilton. And he's going to Ferrari next year, and I'm super excited to see if he can beat Vettel. I sort of hope he can, because I don't like Vettel that much, but that would really question Vettel's, championships and all that if Leclerc could beat him. So I'm really looking forward to that. And then I have most dangerous driver, which is just a little shout out to my comrade from Denmark, Magnussen, who's been as dangerous as always. He's probably, again, the most dangerous driver on the grid. He's had so many incidents, and it's almost too hard to list them all, but he's genuinely just crashed at almost every Grand Prix. And you know, it's just I don't know why he can't get it together and stop being so tough on the battles, you know, battling for practically nothing, and he just ends up ruining his races all the time. It's also probably because all the coverage in Denmark is obviously very, very pro Magnussen, so even when he makes mistakes, they say he doesn't, and it's super annoying to hear, so I have to give him some stick for being the most dangerous driver of the year. And then, obviously, another, you know, sort of tricky award to give. Wait, when I say tricky, I mean the easiest award to give. It's Bottle of the Year, and obviously it goes to Vettel, you know, and Ferrari. I don't really know who to give it to, because Ferrari, it is rumored that they had the best, obviously they had the best car up until like Monza, and then they upgraded the car, but that turned out to be slower, and then they had to strip all the upgrades off, you know, again in Austin they were fast, so it's like if that's true and they didn't realize until then, that pretty much cost them the championship. But obviously Vettel has made so many mistakes, spinning in Japan, and where else he spun earlier, I think it was in Austin as well. He crashed out from the lead in Germany, obviously bottled it in France, bottled it in Azerbaijan, so he's just he doesn't look like the caliber driver that can challenge for a world championship. But then again, he has 4 of them, so I don't really think he cares too much. But Bottle of the Year definitely has to go to Ferrari. And that sort of rounds out my video. It's been a bit of a long one, just me talking, but hopefully you enjoyed me looking back at the season we've had. And I think it's been a really, really great one in general. Up there with 2017. I can't really separate them. Maybe this one has been a little bit better, but sometimes it has been very difficult to overtake. So hopefully that will improve next year. And that's really all for me. If you enjoyed the video, leave a like, subscribe, a comment, anything. It's really appreciated. And I'll see you next time.